Hello, my dear friend. Welcome to tonight's gentle story. My name is Tony, and it is my deepest joy to be here with you tonight, to be the voice that gently guides you into rest. If this is your first time joining me, you are so very welcome. Like a traveler, finding a warm hearth. After a long journey, you are now in a peaceful place where the world outside gently fades away. And if you've been here before, I'm so happy to see you again. Like a friend returning to a familiar place, your presence here fills this moment with warmth. I'm grateful for every breath we share. Tonight, we are going to step into a story, one that takes us deep into the heart of nature, where the whispers of the trees and the soft murmur of water will lead us to a place filled with mystery, a place of wonder where secrets are hidden and discovery awaits. But before we embark on this journey, take a moment to settle into your space. Find your coziest spot where your body can rest and your mind can drift. If you've enjoyed these stories, please remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Your support means the world and encourages us to keep creating these gentle journeys. We also appreciate your comments as they help us grow and improve. So now, let's take a slow, deep breath together. Inhale gently and exhale, releasing any tension you may be holding. Feel your body relax with every breath. There's nothing else you need to do now, nothing to worry about. Just listen to my voice and allow yourself to be carried into a place of peace. Tonight's tale takes us to a hidden lagoon, a secret place known only to those who are brave enough to seek it. A place where the still waters reflect the sky, and the ancient trees stand as silent guardians of an age-old secret. It is a place that feels both timeless and fleeting, where each step brings us closer to a discovery that has waited for centuries to be found. Before we step into our story, let's take a moment to let go of the day. With every breath, imagine the day's worries melting away like soft rain washing over you. There is no rush, no need to hurry. You have all the time you need, and in this moment, all is calm. Close your eyes if you haven't already. Feel your eyelids grow heavy like soft petals folding at dusk. Find a position that feels just right, a place where you can fully relax and let go. Take a deep breath in now. Feel the cool air fill your lungs, and as you breathe out, release any tightness or tension. With each exhale, feel yourself sinking deeper into the comfort of your bed or chair. And now, as the world outside fades away, let me guide you to a place, a secret lagoon. Part 1. The Discovery. It was a late afternoon when Emma and her brother Jack found themselves standing at the edge of a small hidden village nestled between rolling hills and dense forests. The air was thick with the scent of pine and earth, the kind of fresh smell that filled your lungs and made you feel as though you were breathing in pure life itself. The village was quiet, so quiet that you could hear the rustling of the leaves in the trees and the distant sound of water trickling over rocks. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows that stretched like fingers across the cobblestone paths. Emma was always the curious one. She had a way of looking at the world, as if there was something magical hiding just out of view, waiting to be discovered. Jack, on the other hand, was more cautious, always looking for the practical side of things, always questioning. But Emma had a fire in her eyes that could not be ignored, and Jack, though skeptical, couldn't help but follow her wherever her curiosity led. They had been traveling for hours through the dense forest surrounding the village, following a barely visible trail that seemed to disappear into the underbrush. Emma had overheard the village elders talking about a secret place, a lagoon hidden deep in the forest, a place where the water was so clear it could reflect the stars even in daylight. It was a place no one ever spoke of in detail, as though it were a secret kept just for the bravest of souls. Jack, of course, had been hesitant. "It's probably just a myth," he'd said, brushing off the idea as nothing more than a tale to entertain children. But Emma's fascination was undeniable. She had to know if it was real. She had to see it with her own eyes. And so here they were standing at the edge of the village, staring at the path ahead. The trees loomed tall around them, their branches thick with leaves that blocked out much of the sunlight. The air felt heavy, but not oppressive. More like the kind of weight that presses down on you when something important is about to happen. "We're really going to do this, aren't we?" Jack said, glancing at his sister. Emma smiled, her eyes shining with excitement. "Of course we are. We've come this far. The lagoon's just up ahead, I can feel it." With a deep breath, they stepped forward, the soft crunch of leaves beneath their feet, the only sound breaking the silence. The path was narrow and winding, a secret trail hidden from the casual observer. As they moved deeper into the forest, the air grew cooler, and the sounds of the village behind them faded. The trees seemed to close in the shadows, growing longer with each passing minute. It wasn't long before the path opened up into a small clearing. The sunlight flickered through the trees, casting dancing patterns of light and shadow on the ground. And there, nestled in the center of the clearing, was the lagoon. The water shimmered in the fading light, its surface as still as glass. The lagoon was surrounded by towering cliffs, their jagged edges softened by the thick vines that climbed up their sides. The air around the water was filled with the sound of a soft breeze rustling through the leaves. But the lagoon itself was eerily quiet. No birds, no insects, just the calm whisper of the wind. Emma's heart raced as she approached the edge of the water. "This is it," she whispered almost to herself. "The secret lagoon." Jack stood behind her, his mouth slightly agape. "It's beautiful," he said, his voice almost reverent. He had to admit there was something about this place that felt different. It felt like they had stumbled into another world, one untouched by time. The water was so clear that they could see the smooth rocks at the bottom, their outlines faintly visible, even in the dimming light. The air around the lagoon seemed to shimmer, as though the place itself was breathing in time with them. Emma bent down and cupped her hands, dipping them into the cool water. The sensation was electric, like the water itself was alive. She closed her eyes for a moment, savoring the feeling, the energy of the place. It was as if the water were calling to her, inviting her to uncover its secrets. Jack, ever cautious, lingered at the edge of the clearing. He was not one for unexplained wonders, but even he couldn't deny the feeling that something extraordinary was happening here. The silence of the place was both calming and unsettling. Suddenly, Emma stood up, her eyes wide with realization. "There's something in the water," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Jack squinted at the surface of the lagoon. At first, he saw nothing, but then just below the surface, a shape began to form. It was moving slowly, deliberately, as though it were rising from the depths of the water. His heart skipped a beat. "What is that?" he asked, his voice laced with both awe and fear. Emma didn't answer. She stepped closer to the water, her gaze fixed on the shape that was slowly becoming clearer. What they had stumbled upon, what they had found, was far more than they had ever imagined. Part 2. The Hidden Depths. Emma and Jack stood on the edge of the lagoon, their eyes fixed on the water where something seemed to stir beneath the glassy surface. The air was thick with anticipation, and the only sounds that surrounded them were the faint rustle of leaves in the trees and the soft lapping of water against the shore. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Emma could feel her heart pounding in her chest, a steady rhythm that matched the slow rise and fall of her breath. She had always been one for adventures, for chasing the mysteries that others were too afraid to approach. But this was different. There was something in the water, something that felt both familiar and utterly alien. At the same time, Jack shifted uncomfortably behind her, his gaze darting between Emma and the strange shape that was slowly emerging from the depths. "Emma," he began, his voice barely more than a whisper. "What is that? What do you think it is?" Emma didn't answer immediately. Her mind was racing, her thoughts spinning like the whirlpool she had read about in her favorite books. There was something ancient about this place, something that felt like it had been waiting for them to discover it. And whatever lay beneath the water, she felt sure it was not just a fish or a reflection of the trees. No, this was something more. "I don't know," she finally said, her voice low, almost reverent. "But I think we're about to find out." The shape in the water began to move more purposefully now, rising higher, revealing its form more clearly. It wasn't a creature, not in the way Emma had expected. It wasn't an animal, nor was it a reflection of anything in the trees above. It was something else entirely, something that shimmered with an ethereal light, as if the water itself was alive, breathing, pulsing with a quiet energy. As it rose, the shape began to solidify its surface, smooth and iridescent. It was a stone, but not any stone Emma had ever seen before. It glowed faintly, a soft blue-green hue that seemed to shift with the light of the setting sun. The edges of the stone were rounded and polished, as though it had been carved by ancient hands. And yet it was unlike any artifact Emma had ever encountered. Its surface was covered in intricate patterns, symbols perhaps, or writing so delicate and fine that Emma could hardly make them out. "What is it?" Jack asked again, his voice tinged with a mixture of awe and apprehension. Emma stepped closer to the water, her fingers brushing the surface as if she could touch the stone without disturbing its delicate dance on the water. The coolness of the water sent a shiver up her spine, but it wasn't unpleasant. Instead, it felt almost welcoming, like the lagoon itself was inviting her to come closer to understand its secret. "I don't know," she repeated, her voice barely audible now, "but I think it's a key." "Oh, key," Jack echoed, taking a step back, his eyes wide. A key to what? Emma looked up at her brother, her eyes shining with the excitement of discovery. "To something hidden," she said, her words full of wonder. "To something ancient. I think this lagoon is more than just a place. I think it's a doorway." As the last of the stone's form emerged from the water, Emma felt an undeniable pull, a magnetic force that seemed to draw her toward it, urging her to reach out and touch it. She glanced back at Jack, who still seemed uncertain, his hand hovering by his side, as if unsure whether to follow her or run in the opposite direction. I don't know if we should touch it, Jack said, his voice strained. This doesn't feel right, Emma. What if it's dangerous? But Emma, her curiosity outweighing her brother's caution, took another step forward. I don't think it's dangerous. I think it's waiting for us. She reached out her fingers, brushing the edge of the stone. The moment her skin made contact, the water around them rippled, sending small waves across the surface. Emma gasped, pulling her hand back, but the stone remained still, its glow unchanged. For a moment she thought nothing had happened, that perhaps the stone was just a curious object after all. But then, without warning, the patterns on the stone began to shift, as if the symbols were rearranging themselves before her eyes. Jack stepped closer, his fear subsiding as he watched the stone respond to Emma's touch. What's happening? He whispered, his eyes wide with disbelief. The patterns on the stone flickered like light on the surface of water. They began to glow more brightly, casting long, soft shadows across the clearing. It was as if the stone were coming to life, responding to an ancient call. Emma felt a deep, unspoken connection to it, something that transcended her understanding. It wasn't just a stone. It was a vessel, a keeper of secrets long forgotten. Without warning, the stone emitted a soft musical hum, like a distant echo carried on the wind. The sound was so gentle, so pure, that it felt like it was vibrating in the very air around them. Emma could feel it in her chest, the resonance of it like the heartbeat of the lagoon itself. And then, as suddenly as it had begun, the hum stopped. The stone stilled. Its surface was calm again, as though it had never moved at all. What just happened? Jack asked, his voice a whisper now full of wonder. Emma looked at the stone, her heart racing in her chest. I don't know, she said softly, but I think we've unlocked something. Something that has been waiting for a long time. As she spoke, the water around the stone began to swirl again, this time more rapidly, as if the lagoon itself were reacting to what they had uncovered. The ground beneath their feet seemed to vibrate ever so slightly, and the air felt charged with an unseen energy. Jack looked at her, his expression both afraid and excited. What now? He asked, his voice barely audible above the sound of the water. Emma, her gaze fixed on the stone, didn't answer. Right away, she had no words for what was happening. But in that moment, she knew one thing for certain. Whatever lay ahead, whatever this lagoon had to offer, it was something neither of them had expected, and they were about to step into a world far beyond anything they had ever imagined. Part 3. The Hidden Path. The air around the lagoon had shifted again, carrying with it the lingering hum from the stone. Emma and Jack stood in silence, their gazes locked on the smooth, glowing surface of the water. The magical hum had faded, but something in the atmosphere remained charged, as though the very space around them had become a portal to another world. A world that neither of them fully understood. Jack shifted uncomfortably, his fingers brushing the cool bark of a nearby tree. Emma, he said, his voice hesitant. This place, this stone. Do you think it's safe? I mean, we don't even know what we've just triggered. What if it's something dangerous? Emma, however, was entranced. Her eyes had not left the stone, its mysterious glow still faintly pulsing, as though it were alive. There was something deeper here, something calling her to explore further. The pull she felt toward it was undeniable, and every fiber of her being told her that she was meant to uncover its secrets. I don't think it's dangerous, Jack, Emma replied softly, her voice full of wonder. I think it's more like an invitation. Her heart raced with anticipation. We've uncovered something hidden, something that's been waiting to be found for so long. Jack frowned, his brow furrowing, as he looked at the swirling water invitation. To what exactly, Emma didn't have an answer. Instead, she took a step closer to the water, as if something unseen was guiding her forward. She could feel the cool air pressing against her skin, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It felt like a soft whisper, urging her to take another step. As she approached the stone, she noticed something she hadn't seen before, a faint glowing trail stretching from the water, winding its way between the trees, disappearing into the heart of the forest. It was subtle, just a hint of light, like stardust sprinkled on the earth. But it was there, unmistakable, leading them deeper into the unknown. Jack. Emma whispered, her voice trembling with excitement. Look! Her brother followed her gaze, and his eyes widened as he saw the trail of light that seemed to beckon them forward. For a long moment he stood frozen, his doubts and fears warring with his curiosity. He had never believed in magic, in the supernatural. He had always been the rational one. But what was before them now was unlike anything he could explain away. Emma took another step, moving toward the glowing path. She felt as though she were walking in a dream, her every step synchronized with the rhythm of her heartbeat. The air seemed lighter here, as if the very atmosphere had shifted in their favor, giving them permission to explore. Come on, Jack, she said softly, her voice gentle but firm. We've come this far. Don't you want to know what's at the end of the path? Jack hesitated, but the uncertainty in his eyes slowly melted away. With a deep breath, he followed his sister, taking slow, cautious steps toward the illuminated trail. The path itself seemed to pulse beneath their feet, the soft glow giving off an almost soothing warmth. It wasn't hot or intense, but comforting, like the warmth of the sun just before sunset. When it touches everything with its golden hue, the deeper they walked into the forest, the more the trees seemed to shift their trunks, growing wider and taller, their branches entwining above them, like the protective arms of a giant. The trail of light remained visible, stretching ahead, guiding them, leading them deeper into the heart of the unknown. What do you think this is? Emma, Jack asked, his voice barely above a whisper as they moved further into the forest. Do you think it's some kind of ancient place? I don't know, Emma replied, her eyes scanning the trees around them, the excitement in her voice barely contained. But I feel like we're not just walking into a hidden forest. We're walking into a part of the world that's been waiting for us to find it. They walked in silence for a few moments, the only sound being the soft crunch of leaves beneath their feet. The trail twisted and turned through the forest, winding around towering trees and over small streams, its glow never wavering, always leading them forward. And then, as they reached the top of a small hill, the trail stopped. Emma and Jack came to a halt, their breath catching in their throats as they gazed down at what lay before them. Below them, hidden deep within a hollow in the earth, lay a vast and serene pool, larger than the lagoon they had seen earlier. The water was still, and it shimmered in the fading light as if it held the sky itself within its depths. But what truly caught their attention was the figure standing at the edge of the pool. The figure was tall, draped in robes of deep green, the color blending with the surrounding forest. as if it had emerged from the very earth itself. Its face was hidden beneath a hood, but Emma could feel its presence, strong, ancient, and wise. The figure didn't speak, but as Emma and Jack approached it, raised a hand toward the water, gesturing for them to come closer. Jack hesitated, a shiver running down his spine. "What is that?" he asked, his voice barely audible. Emma stepped forward, her gaze locked on the figure, a deep sense of calm settling over her. "It's the Guardian," she whispered, as though she had known this all along. "The one who watches over the lagoon, the one who keeps it secret." Jack was about to protest, but before he could speak, the figure lowered its hand and pointed toward the water. Slowly, the water began to ripple the surface, shifting as if something beneath it was waking up. Preparing to rise, Emma felt her pulse quicken. This was it, the moment they had been waiting for. Whatever secrets the lagoon held, whatever mysteries lay beneath its depths, they were about to uncover them. As the water parted, a faint glow emerged from below, revealing the shape of something massive rising toward the surface. Jack's breath caught in his throat. "What is that?" he whispered, his voice filled with awe and fear. The figure nodded once, as if acknowledging their question. Then it stepped aside, allowing them to see what had been hidden beneath the water. Part 4. The Awakening. The figure at the edge of the pool stepped back, its dark robe trailing in the stillness of the moment. The air around Emma and Jack seemed to vibrate, the tension growing as the water rippled and swirled. The enormous shape beneath the surface began to emerge, rising slowly and deliberately, like a creature awakening from a long slumber. Emma's heart raced, a mixture of excitement and unease flooding through her. She had known they were on the verge of discovering something incredible. But now, as the creature from the depths began to materialize, she could feel her pulse quicken with a sense of urgency. Whatever was about to emerge was far beyond their understanding. The water parted like thick curtains, revealing a massive translucent form. Something ancient glowing faintly with an eerie light. Its shape was not entirely human, nor was it entirely animal. Its body was long, sleek and powerful, with scales that shimmered in the dimming light. The creature's eyes, though still closed, exuded an undeniable sense of ancient wisdom, as though it had witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations. Jack stumbled back, his breath caught in his throat. "What in the world?" He gasped, his eyes wide in disbelief. "What is that thing?" Emma didn't answer. She couldn't. She was too entranced by the sight before her. It was not fear she felt though, but awe. She had spent her life chasing stories of magic, of hidden places, of the unexplained. And now, standing before this creature, she knew that everything she had imagined, everything she had dreamed of, was real. The creature, still submerged to its neck in the water, seemed to stir its eyes, flicking open. They were not human eyes, nor were they entirely animal. They were golden, luminous, filled with a deep understanding that seemed to pierce through the very fabric of time. Emma felt a wave of calm wash over her, as those eyes locked onto hers. Slowly, the creature's mouth opened and its voice echoed in her mind. It was not a sound, not a spoken word, but something deeper, a vibration, a pulse of thought. "You have come," the voice said, reverberating in the water, in the air, and deep within Emma's chest. "You have awakened the lagoon." Jack looked at his sister, panic creeping into his expression. "Emma," he whispered urgently, "we need to leave. This isn't safe. We don't know what it wants." But Emma remained still, her gaze never leaving the creature. She could feel the weight of its words, ancient, wise, and somehow familiar. It was not threatening her. No, it was offering something. A gift, or perhaps a test. She could not explain it. But deep inside she knew she had been meant to find this lagoon, meant to find the guardian and the secret it held. "Why are we here?" Emma asked aloud, her voice trembling with the weight of her question. She didn't know if the creature could hear her, but she needed to know. The path that had led her here, the glowing trail, the stone, everything had brought them to this moment. There had to be a reason. The creature's eyes softened, its ancient wisdom filling the space between them. To know the truth, it responded. To understand the world beneath the surface, you are the chosen ones. The ones who will uncover what lies hidden in the depths. You have awakened the lagoon, and now you must see what it has been guarding. Emma's breath caught in her throat. The lagoon. It had been guarding something. Something precious. Something forgotten. She could feel the pull of it deep within her soul, as if it had always been there waiting to be discovered. Jack shook his head, his fear growing. "Emma, we don't belong here. This place is too powerful. What if we're not supposed to know? What if this thing or whatever it is doesn't want us here?" Emma turned to him, her eyes filled with a fierce determination. "We have to know, Jack," she said quietly, almost urgently. "We have to understand. We've come this far, and there's no turning back now." The creature's gaze shifted from Emma to Jack, and its lips parted, releasing a soft, echoing sigh. "The path you walk is not one of easy answers," it said, the voice filled with sorrow. "Once you cross the threshold of knowledge, there is no return. What you uncover may change, you may shape the world in ways you cannot yet fathom. Are you prepared to bear this burden?" Emma's heart raced. She had always known that seeking the unknown came with risks, but this felt different. This was no simple quest for adventure. This was a choice that could reshape everything. Emma faltered, but her voice remained steady. "I don't know what lies ahead, but I know we can't walk away from this." Not now. Jack's face was pale, his mind still spinning with disbelief. "I don't understand," he said, his voice cracking with uncertainty. "What is it asking us to do? What does the lagoon want from us?" The creature's golden eyes dimmed slightly, and it moved its head slowly toward the water. "It does not want, it gives. It is the keeper of knowledge, the guardian of the past, the protector of the truth that was lost. But the truth is not always kind. The lagoon is the heart of the forest. It remembers everything. It remembers what was, what is, and what will be, and now it will show you." The air around them grew still, the very breath of the forest seemingly caught in anticipation. The creature's body shifted, and for the first time, Emma noticed that the water in the pool was rising. It swirled the surface, darkening, as if something from deep within was emerging. Emma felt the pull stronger now, a force that seemed to call her deeper, urging her to step forward. The creature, though large and imposing, was not menacing. Its presence was calming wise, as though it carried with it the weight of the world's forgotten stories. The secrets of the lagoon are not for the faint of heart, the creature warned. Once seen, they will never be forgotten. Are you ready to witness the truth of what lies beneath? Emma looked at Jack, her eyes filled with both fear and anticipation. She felt the weight of the choice pressing down on her, but there was no turning back now. The truth was before them, hidden in the waters of the lagoon. She could feel it deep down in the very marrow of her bones. "Yes," she said, her voice steady and sure. "We are ready." Part 5. The Secret Revealed. The air around them seemed to hum with an energy that was both ancient and alive, as if the very land beneath their feet was breathing with the lagoon. Emma and Jack stood on the edge of the water, their eyes locked on the figure before them, and the world seemed to narrow, leaving only the present, only the moment. The creature's gaze shifted back and forth between them, and its golden eyes deepened, glowing with an intensity that made Emma's heart beat faster. What lies beneath the creature said softly is not merely a memory, it is a promise. Emma's breath caught in her chest. A promise. What could the lagoon be guarding? And what was it about this place that made it so powerful? Before she could speak, the creature slowly extended its arm, a movement so fluid it was like watching water in motion. The forest seemed to still, the rustling leaves pausing, the wind holding its breath. It reached toward the surface of the pool, its long fingers gliding just above the water, as though coaxing something hidden deep beneath the surface. And then, in the quiet stillness, the water began to stir. The surface of the lagoon rippled, soft waves undulating outward from the center. The pale, glowing stone that had first risen from the water began to sink again, moving downward slowly, as if guided by an unseen hand. But beneath it, something new began to emerge, something far larger, something powerful and ancient. Emma's breath quickened as she watched, her body tensing in anticipation. The stone had disappeared, and now the water was rising, swirling with energy that seemed to pulse in time with her heartbeat. The water's surface glowed, but this time there was something more, something dark and glistening beneath the clear water. A figure emerged from the depths. At first it was hard to distinguish the water clouding around it, but then, as the creature fully rose, it became clear that what stood before them was not just an ordinary figure. It was something majestic, ethereal, and impossibly beautiful. Its form was humanoid, but the skin was covered with fine shimmering scales that shimmered in hues of deep blue and silver. Its hair flowed like strands of liquid rippling in the water, as if it were a part of the very sea itself. The creature stepped forward, the water cascading around it like a veil. Its eyes were wide and luminous, the same golden color as the Guardian's, but this time they were filled with something different, something ancient and full of sorrow. There was a weight to them, a history that spanned centuries, a story of loss and of waiting. "You have found me." The creature's voice echoed softly, not in words but in thoughts, in vibrations that resonated in their minds. "I am the keeper of the forgotten past, the one who walks the boundary between what was and what is to come. You stand at the threshold of a secret too powerful to reveal lightly." Jack, who had been silent until now, finally found his voice. "What do you mean?" he asked, his tone filled with both awe and fear. "What secret? What is this place really?" The creature's gaze shifted to Jack, and for a moment, Emma thought it would speak again. Instead, it raised a hand to the water, and with a single motion, it pulled something from the depths. The water parted like a curtain, revealing a glimmering ancient object, an orb of crystal, smooth and shining with an ethereal glow. It floated above the surface, glowing faintly, casting reflections on the surrounding trees. "This is the heart of the lagoon," the creature said softly. It holds the power of time itself, the threads of the past, the present and the future. It is the source of this land's secret, the reason it has remained hidden for so long, and it is what has called you here. Emma felt a sense of reverence well up inside her. The orb pulsed with energy, and as she gazed at it, she felt a sudden surge of understanding. Something beyond her conscious mind, the lagoon, the stone, the guardian. It was all part of something larger, something vast. It wasn't just a place of beauty. It was a place of connection, a place that bridged time and memory, the heart of the lagoon. Emma whispered, her voice thick with wonder. The creature nodded. The heart connects all things. It remembers the stories of those who have come before, and it holds the possibility of what might come after. But its power is not something to be taken lightly. It chooses who may access its truths, and it does so only when the time is right. Jack stepped forward, his eyes wide with disbelief. So we're chosen? He asked, his voice barely a whisper. The creature didn't answer right away. Instead, it lowered the orb slowly, its golden eyes studying them both. The air around them seemed to thicken with anticipation. You are not here by chance, it finally said, his voice echoing in the space between them. You have been called. You are the ones who will understand what has been hidden for so long. The heart of the lagoon will show you the truth, but it will also demand something in return. Emma's heart raced. She could feel the weight of the words, the significance of what was happening. They had stumbled into a mystery that had been waiting for centuries, and now it seemed they were meant to carry its burden. What do we need to do? Emma asked, her voice steady, though she could feel the tension in her chest. The creature raised its hand again, this time holding the orb above them both. Its light shimmered, casting shadows that danced across the water and the trees. You must be ready, it said, its tone grave. The truth will not be easy. The path will not be without cost. But you have come this far. You have awakened the lagoon. And now you must decide what you are willing to uncover, what you will sacrifice. The last words hung in the air like a warning, like a promise. Emma and Jack stood there mesmerized by the orb, its glowing light casting a strange calm over them. The decision was now before them, the decision to step deeper into the mystery, to learn what lay hidden beneath the surface. And they knew with a certainty that made their hearts ache that there was no going back. Moment. Part 6. The Choice. The creature, its golden eyes still glowing softly in the dimming light, watched Emma and Jack with a gaze that seemed to pierce the very core of their being. The orb, now hovering just above the water, pulsed with an almost hypnotic rhythm. Each beat seemed to echo the very heartbeat of the lagoon itself. Slow and deliberate, the weight of its power pressed down on them, filling the space between them with a palpable, almost suffocating tension. Emma felt her breath quicken as the creature's words lingered in the air like a warning. The path will not be without cost, it had said. What you uncover may change everything, and you must decide what you are willing to sacrifice. She could feel the truth of those words settle deep within her. This was not a game, not a mere adventure. The lagoon had awakened, and now it was offering them the keys to its ancient power. But the cost? What would the cost be? Jack, standing beside her, glanced nervously at the creature and then back at Emma. His brow furrowed, his eyes filled with a mixture of awe and uncertainty. What do we do, Emma? He asked quietly, his voice barely more than a whisper. This is too much. We don't even understand what we're dealing with. How can we just take a step forward without knowing what happens next? Emma turned to look at her brother, her heart heavy with the weight of his words. He was right. How could they move forward into the unknown, not knowing what the future would hold? But Emma's heart, the part of her that had always craved adventure, that had always sought answers to questions no one else had asked, pulled her forward. She knew they had come this far for a reason. The lagoon had chosen them, and somehow they were meant to discover its secrets. "We've come this far, Jack," Emma said, her voice steady, despite the whirlwind of thoughts in her mind. "We can't turn back now. Whatever this place holds, we need to understand it. We need to know why we were brought here." Jack swallowed the uncertainty still clouding his eyes. "But what if we're not ready for what's down there?" he asked. "What if we're not prepared for the truth?" Emma reached out and took his hand, squeezing it gently. "I don't think we can ever be fully ready, but the truth is something we need to face. We've seen too much already." The creature's presence seemed to grow stronger as Emma spoke, its eyes watching them closely. It didn't move, but it didn't need to. It exuded a quiet, unspoken power that seemed to make the very air around them tremble with anticipation. "The choice is yours," the creature said, its voice deep and resonant, as if echoing from the depths of the water. "The heart of the lagoon holds the truth of what was and the potential of what may come. But not all truths are meant to be known. Not all paths lead to light. Are you willing to risk everything to see what lies beneath?" Emma's heart pounded in her chest. The question hung in the air, an invitation and a challenge all at once. Could they truly step forward and face what lay hidden in the depths? Could they unravel the mysteries of the lagoon without losing themselves in the process? She turned to Jack, her grip tightening on his hand. He was her brother, her protector, her constant companion on every adventure they'd ever shared. She could see the hesitation in his eyes, but she knew deep down that the decision was as much his as it was hers. "Jack," she whispered, her voice soft but firm, "we can do this. We have to. There's so much more we don't understand, so much that we've only glimpsed." Jack met her gaze, his expression torn between fear and awe. "But at what cost? Emma, what if this knowledge we're seeking comes with consequences we can't even imagine?" Emma didn't have an answer. She didn't know what would happen next, but she knew one thing for certain. The lagoon had already changed them. They couldn't walk away now. They had stepped into a world that existed outside of everything they'd ever known, and there was no turning back. "We won't know unless we try." "Emma," said, her voice trembling slightly, "we have to face the unknown." Jack nodded slowly, his fear still there but tempered by the same curiosity that had driven them both to seek out the hidden lagoon in the first place. "All right," he said, his voice low, "but we do this together. Whatever happens, we stick together. Together." They turned back to the creature, their decision made. The creature's eyes softened as though it had been waiting for this moment for their decision. It raised its hand toward the glowing orb, which began to pulse brighter, the light shifting from soft blue to a deep, vibrant gold. "You have chosen," the creature said, its voice filled with quiet approval. "The heart of the lagoon is now yours to behold. But know this: the truth you seek will come at a price. You will see what has been hidden from the world, and you will understand what others have forgotten. But you will also carry that knowledge with you for as long as you live. As the words left the creature's lips, the water beneath them began to swirl more rapidly. The surface of the lagoon churned, sending ripples in all directions, but the water remained clear. And then, with a final soft hum that resonated in their bones, the orb lowered into the depths, its glow fading as it disappeared into the darkened waters below. For a long moment, the forest fell silent. The creature stepped back, its form dissolving into the shadows, leaving Emma and Jack alone by the water's edge. The path before them was now clear. The truth was within reach. Part 7. The truth unfolds. The moment the orb vanished beneath the water, a wave of silence swept over the lagoon. The air grew still. The only sound, the soft rustle of leaves above them, and the distant murmur of the water lapping gently at the shore. It was as if the entire world had stopped holding its breath in anticipation of what would come next. Emma and Jack stood at the edge of the pool, the weight of their decision settling heavily upon them. They had crossed the threshold, and now they had to face whatever the lagoon had in store for them. The ancient creature was gone, its presence fading like mist in the morning light, leaving them alone with the water, with the truth that waited to be uncovered. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The water remained still, its surface like glass reflecting the fading light of the evening sky. The sense of mystery hung in the air thick with expectation. Emma felt her heart racing in her chest, her mind spinning with the possibilities of what they might discover. The truth was within reach, but what would it cost them? What now? Jack whispered, his voice barely audible, as if he were afraid to break the stillness. Emma glanced at her brother, her eyes filled with uncertainty, but also determination. She took a slow breath, steadying herself. I don't know, but we have to stay here, we have to wait. The lagoon has shown us that it holds secrets, ancient ones. We have to be patient. Jack nodded, though his brow remained furrowed in concern. He couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking deeper into a mystery. They weren't fully prepared for a mystery that might hold more than they could ever comprehend. As they waited, the light from the setting sun slowly dimmed, casting long shadows across the clearing. The water, once still, began to ripple again. But this time, the movement was different. The ripples were larger, more purposeful, as if the water itself was responding to an unseen force. Emma felt a sudden rush of energy, a pulse that seemed to reverberate through her very being. She stepped closer to the water, drawn by a force she couldn't explain and need to understand. To uncover what lay beneath, Jack hesitated behind her, his unease growing, but he followed her, unwilling to let her go alone into whatever came next. Suddenly the water began to swirl, spiraling inward, as though it were being sucked down into the depths. The light around them shifted, turning from a soft amber to an eerie green, as if the very lagoon was coming alive. Emma felt a shiver run down her spine, a mixture of awe and fear creeping into her heart. This was no ordinary place. This lagoon, this secret, was more than she had ever imagined. And then, as if summoned by their very presence, something began to rise from the depths. It started as a faint glow, a shimmer beneath the surface, but it quickly grew brighter and larger, rising toward them with an otherworldly force. The water parted as it emerged, a figure vast and ancient rising from the lagoon. At first Emma and Jack could only make out the shape, its form still half submerged in the glowing water. But as the creature emerged further, its shape became clearer. a towering figure, humanoid in form but covered in scales that glowed like the stars themselves. Its eyes were the same deep golden hue as the creature they had encountered earlier, but now they seemed to pulse with an inner fire and intelligence that had endured through centuries. The creature did not speak, but Emma could feel its presence, its power washing over her. It was not hostile, nor was it comforting. It was a force, a being of pure knowledge, ancient and untouchable. "You have come." The creature's voice resonated in their minds, its words as deep as the ocean. "And you have awakened the truth. The lagoon has given you what you sought. But understand this, the truth is not a gift. It is a burden." Emma felt her heart race. The words hung heavy in the air, their meaning reverberating in her mind. The truth was not a gift. What did that mean? What had they truly uncovered? Jack took a step back, his eyes wide with a mix of fear and awe. What are you?" he asked, his voice shaking. The creature's golden eyes turned toward him, its gaze steady and knowing. "I am the keeper of the lagoon," it answered simply. "The guardian of the past, the protector of what was lost." Emma's breath caught in her chest. The lagoon was not just a place of beauty. It was a place of memory, of ancient power, of something long forgotten by the world. The creature, this guardian, had been waiting for someone to unlock the secret it held. And now they had done just that. "What is the truth?" Emma asked, her voice steady, despite the weight of the moment. "What has been hidden here?" The guardian did not answer immediately. Instead, it extended its hand toward them, and the air around them seemed to shift. A vision, ethereal and fleeting, appeared before them. Images of the past, flashes of memories long buried in time. They saw glimpses of ancient civilizations, people who had once lived and thrived, their faces etched in the fabric of history. And then they saw something darker, something more sorrowful. The lagoon had witnessed the fall of these civilizations, the loss of knowledge, the erosion of time. This place, the creature said, its voice tinged with sadness, was once a place of great power. It held the wisdom of ages, the knowledge of all that was. But over time, the world forgot, and so the lagoon was hidden. Its heart protected its secrets locked away. Until now, Emma and Jack stood in silence as the vision faded, replaced by the quiet, shimmering water before them. The weight of what they had just seen settled over them. The lagoon had witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations, and now it was offering them the chance to learn from the past. But the burden of that knowledge was not light. "You stand at the crossroads of history," the creature said softly. "What you choose to do with this truth will shape not only your own future, but the future of the world. The lagoon has shown you what was, now it asks what you will do with what you have learned." Jack turned to Emma, his eyes filled with uncertainty. "What do we do, Emma? How do we even begin to understand all of this?" Emma looked at the creature, at the water, and then back at her brother. She could feel the weight of their decision pressing on her. This was no longer just about uncovering a mystery. It was about shaping the world, understanding the past, and carrying that knowledge into the future. "We have to decide," Emma said quietly, her voice full of resolve. "The lagoon has shown us the truth. Now it's up to us to decide what comes next." The creature nodded, its eyes glowing softly in the twilight. "The choice is yours," it said. "But remember, the truth is not always easy. And once you have seen it, there is no turning back." Emma and Jack stood there, facing the creature, the lagoon, and the future. The truth had been revealed. Now they would have to live with it. Part 8. The decision. The air around the lagoon felt heavier now, laden with the weight of centuries of knowledge, of secrets and truths that had been kept hidden for so long. The Guardian's gaze remained steady, watching Emma and Jack with an unspoken understanding. Its golden eyes gleamed not with malice but with a quiet knowing, as if it had seen this moment unfold countless times before Emma and Jack stood on the edge of the water, the creature's words echoing in their minds. The truth is not a gift, it is a burden. The lagoon had shown them glimpses of a past long forgotten, a past full of glory and tragedy, wisdom and sorrow. Now they stood at the precipice of that knowledge, and the path ahead seemed uncertain, dark and full of possibility. Jack swallowed hard, his throat dry. He had always been the cautious one, the one who questioned and doubted. But in this moment, there was no room for hesitation. The weight of what they had discovered, what they had been entrusted with, was too much for him to fully comprehend. And yet it felt like they were on the cusp of something monumental. He turned to Emma, his voice quiet, unsure. What do we do now? We've seen it, the past, the lagoon's secrets. But is it enough? Is this all we need to know? Emma's eyes remained fixed on the lagoon, the water now still and dark as it reflected the twilight sky above. Her heart beat steadily in her chest, each pulse a reminder that she had crossed into a world she had never imagined. The knowledge the lagoon held was profound beyond anything she had ever dreamed. But with that knowledge came a responsibility, a weight that she knew they could never escape. I don't know, she whispered, her voice filled with a quiet resolve. But we have to decide. We can't walk away from this. The lagoon has called us here for a reason. We have to decide what to do with what we've learned. Jack's gaze drifted to the Guardian, its presence towering and ethereal. He could feel the ancient energy of the lagoon vibrating in the air, as if the very earth beneath his feet were alive with the power of forgotten truths. But what if we're not ready? He asked, his voice tinged with fear. What if the truth we have unlocked is too much for us to handle? Emma looked at her brother, her eyes filled with both uncertainty and determination. She understood his fear, his reluctance to embrace what they had uncovered. The weight of the lagoon's truth was heavy, and the path ahead was not one they could walk back from. But she knew deep in her soul that this was their journey, and they could not turn away now. I don't think we have a choice, Emma said softly. We've opened the door. The truth has been revealed, and we can't just close it again. We have to face it, no matter the cost. The lagoon around them seemed to respond to her words, the water rippling gently as if acknowledging the decision that hung in the air. The Guardian, still standing in its silent watch, raised its hand once more, and the orb, which had descended into the depths, began to glow again. Its light was brighter now, more intense, as if it was calling them to take the next step. The creature spoke once more, its voice, a low, resonant hum that seemed to echo through the very fabric of the world. You stand at the threshold where knowledge and destiny meet. What you choose will shape not only your own lives, but the lives of all who will follow. You have awakened the truth. Now you must decide what to do with it. Emma stepped forward, her eyes fixed on the orb as it floated above the water, its light illuminating the clearing with an otherworldly glow. She could feel the weight of the creature's words, the responsibility that came with this power, This knowledge, it was more than just an adventure. It was a test of courage, of wisdom, of strength. Jack moved beside her, his hand finding hers, his grip tight with the same sense of responsibility. "We can't keep it to ourselves," he said, his voice steady now, though his uncertainty had not fully faded. "But how do we share it? How do we use it without destroying everything we know?" Emma took a deep breath, her mind racing with the possibilities. She could feel the pull of the lagoon, the invitation to uncover more, to seek deeper truths. But the weight of those truths was overwhelming. There was so much they didn't understand, so much they could never fully grasp. "I don't know," she said softly, "but I think the lagoon is asking us to find balance. It's offering us the knowledge of the past, but it's up to us to decide how we use it. We can't change what's happened, but we can guide what comes next." The orb's glow intensified, casting long shadows on the water and the trees around them. The guardian watching them silently seemed to understand. Its eyes glowed brighter now, as though it were waiting for their final decision. "The truth is powerful," the creature intoned its voice heavy with finality, "but knowledge without wisdom is a curse. Choose carefully." Emma looked at Jack, her heart steady despite the weight of the moment. "We choose to share it," she said, her voice clear. "We choose to protect it and use it for good, to learn from it, but never let it consume us." The guardian nodded slowly, its golden eyes glowing with approval. "Then you have chosen wisely." With a final motion, the orb lowered into the water once more, its glow fading into the depths as if it had never been there. The lagoon began to settle the water, returning to its still, peaceful state. The tension that had gripped the air slowly ebbed away, leaving a profound sense of quiet. The guardian lowered its hand, its eyes now softer, as though its task had been fulfilled. "The truth has been revealed to you. You are the keepers now," it said, its voice filled with a deep, ancient wisdom. "Remember, though, that not all truths are meant to be understood at once. Take what you have learned and let it guide you, but know that the world is ever-changing, and your journey is only beginning." As the creature spoke, the light around them began to fade, and the air returned to its quiet, calm state. The forest, the water, and the lagoon, everything seemed to return to its natural rhythm, as though time had momentarily paused. Emma and Jack stood together, the weight of their decision settling upon them. They had uncovered the lagoon's deepest secret, and now they carried it within them. The truth was theirs, but it was also a burden, a responsibility to protect, to share wisely, and to remember. As they turned to leave the path behind them, still glowing faintly in the distance, they knew that they were no longer just adventurers seeking a secret. They were now the keepers of that secret, the ones who would carry its legacy into the world. And with that knowledge, they stepped forward into the unknown, knowing that the journey ahead would be both their greatest challenge and their greatest triumph. That brings us to the end of our story. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see you again for future stories.